Welcome, heathens and witches, to the Horn
and Cauldron
podcast. Yeah, so we're back at it again. We had a little hiccup there. Literally like moments after we finished editing the podcast. I was like exporting the podcast when we lost power and internet. And it finished exporting
like 5 minutes after.
It finished exporting battery on my laptop battery. And I was like, I got the file, but no way to connect it. And we had a downed cable, internet line. So we just literally had no internet. So it was a fun 23 days.
Yeah, for almost the entire month of January.
Yeah, no
we had
internet.
No internet at home.
Yeah.
And I mean,
it's awful. It was awful. It's fine.
Let me tell you what, I remember a time before the internet. And
this was all fields as far as the eye could see. I had to walk uphill in the snow.
To school both ways. Yeah. No, I mean, I remember a time before the internet was as pervasive as it is now. And I remember a time before smartphones too. But we no longer live in a society where you can go without internet for that long.
I mean, it definitely limited the shit that we could do in our lives. A la, I run a business for online, so I have to have internet to do that. And we were kind of barely able to get just enough cell phone reception.
We were
to
basically
print labels, but it was
to Hermes.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad the whole time.
Give us internet.
But at the same time, I mean, it gives you more time to read books and do all kind of other stuff, bits and bobs around the house and such like that. So
yeah.
So it was a fun forced vacation, for lack of better words,
from the internet.
Yeah, and power for 5 or 6 days, but the internet was the real problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a very long way to say. Long story short,
a bit of catch up.
Yeah,
with our
we're a little behind, so sorry about that, but we're gonna catch up and get back on schedule with those things. Yeah. Starting now-ish.
Yeah.
So that'll be, look forward to that stuff. And we've obviously got the upcoming Imbolc ritual for the patrons. So if you're a patron, look forward to that. And if you're what's that or whatever, we'll talk about it again at the end. But we join our Patreon or whatever. And what else do I have to do at the very beginning? If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like this video and all that shit. And if you're listening to this in a podcast, leave us a review, because that's how we know that you listened. Because honestly, we don't know. There's no way to do that. Cool.
Turns out we may have 10 listeners.
We may have
Look
up to 10 whole listeners.
2 years, 10 listeners.
Screaming into the void, 5 people at a time.
Yeah, there we go.
But so, let's get right into it. Today is Imbolc 103, the 9 Herbs Charm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we get into the 9 herbs,
is this a Kentucky Fried Joint? 9 herbs and spices?
Definitely not.
Yeah?
Definitely.
It's funny.
Not.
It's funny as shit. You're welcome. You're all welcome. All 10 of you.
Definitely not.
You're welcome.
Well, before we get into the 9 herbs charm, I want to talk a little bit about Imbolc first. Okay. So this is Imbolc 103. So Imbolc 101 was kind of a basic intro to a bunch of things. We actually talk a lot about the goddess Brigid in that. And Imbolc 102, we sort of talk about some specific pieces that you can do to kind of celebrate Imbolc, and a variety of different ways to celebrate Imbolc. And Imbolc 103, we are talking about something that sort of falls in line with the idea of what Imbolc is in a bunch of depth. So the 9 herbs charm is not necessarily tied to Imbolc, but is Imbolc adjacent, sort of like what we did with the Yule 103 and all of the rest of the Sabbats for this year. If you're listening to this when these come out, are going to be a similar idea.
Are going to be a deep dive into a particular bit that is related to or adjacent to, or takes kind of gets the same point across and is the same time of year, but is historically separated or something like that. So it's a little bit more of a very specific thing.
Yeah.
For bonus knowledge on the holiday.
Yeah.
Sabbat.
So to recap, Imbolc takes place on February 1st or 2nd. Some people celebrate on the 2nd sometimes. In the northern hemisphere, or August 1st or 2nd in the southern hemisphere. And that date is about halfway between the winter solstice, which is Yule, and the spring equinox, which is Ostara. And people have been celebrating Imbolc or something around this time for like pretty ancient times because we have this information because of like ancient passage tombs that were discovered in Europe. So people have been celebrating this holiday in a variety of different ways for a very, very long time. And Imbolc is really a time to celebrate like, hey guys, we made it through the worst of the winter.
Yeah.
We're in the home stretch now. Spring is a-coming. And people typically celebrated these with hearth fires and bonfires and feasting and planning the upcoming harvest, that is the upcoming growing season, mind you, and weather divination. Groundhog Day.
Yeah, well, and figuring out like when to plant your seeds and such.
And what to plant and where to plant it and that whole thing.
Does if you're from not America, does your country have a weird equivalent to the American Groundhog Day? Our divinatory ground varmin predicting when spring will sprung.
Yeah, our day of worshiping Bill Murray's.
It's Groundhog Day is so deeply weird, but so entrenched in the like every year it happens, and there's no question. And everybody from children to adults seem to just accept the wisdom of this fucking groundhog,
whose name is Punxsutawney Phil. The thing that gets me about Groundhog Day,
it's a fantastic weird American like hoodoo tradition. So that's what it is.
The thing that gets me about Groundhog Day is we are from the West Coast. We are from California, and Punxsutawney Phil, like the main groundhog, like head hog of the ground.
Head prediction hedgehog,
is
groundhog.
In Philadelphia, which is like in New England.
Yeah,
I guess
Eagles.
Philadelphia is considered New England. And that is the complete opposite side of the country.
Yeah.
And for people that are
we live in Northern California. Let's be perfectly honest. Like, it's not the same. Our winters are not the same.
Our winters are definitely not
we don't
the same.
We don't have all of that drama that you guys have out there.
Yeah,
we don't have none of that shit out here.
Where we live, when it gets below 60, we are just like, guys, break out the heating.
Yeah, we don't have none of that shit out here.
But like the seasons that we have are so different that I'm always just like, why are we listening to this?
Well, but
groundhog that is literally thousands of miles away.
The Catholic Church tried this two pope shit for a while, and it resulted in a bunch of wars. It's not going to work out. If we have a West Coast groundhog and they have an East Coast groundhog, and there's some sort of a disagreement, fucking World War V. We don't. I don't
even know
shit.
that we have groundhogs.
Yeah, Civil War 27
out here.
Well, we have some sort of fur pig that you can put in the earth, right? I don't know.
Woo! That sent me.
I mean, we've got to have some sort of an equivalent of like a ground varmint out here. I mean, we have like forest mice. That's a groundhog, right? Kind of.
I mean, I kind of use our tortoise as the bellwether for the seasons.
Yeah,
he's still asleep. He's like, winter, it's still here, guys.
Yeah, we can use.
Although he did wake
ground
up
turtle
briefly.
Same thing. So
turtle. So anyway,
do you know about a Californian or West Coast groundhog equivalent? Let us know in the comments below. I would be interested to know if we can use it to divine weather. Yeah. Let's fight the East Coast, guys.
Yeah. There was a tweet about that literally today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. We're on the same page, guys. The revolution. Let's do it. Yeah.
Now, Imbolc is also a holy day for the Celtic goddess Brigid. We talk more about Brigid in Imbolc 101, which is episode 5. And she is actually the daughter of the Dagda, and we do a deep dive on him in episode 29. Yep. And Brigid is a member of the Tuatha De Danann, some of the Celtic deities, and
every time I see that word written out, my brain is just like, no. And I know how to say Tuatha De Danann. I mean, like, it's not... I can say it easier than I can read it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I can read it much easier.
Because every time I read it, I'm just like, there's like a bunch of bonus characters in that word.
I have to like kind of stop everything else to pronounce it right. No, Brigid is the goddess
just pronounce it wrong. Whatever, man. Yeah.
Brigid is the goddess of livestock, particularly cattle. She's also a goddess of fertility and spring and arts and crafts and poetry and blacksmithing and healing. Yep. She also has kind of like a triple goddess aspect associated with her. Now, like I said, we go into more in those episodes. So if you want to listen more about Brigid or Imbolc, listen to episode 5, Imbolc 101, or episode 31, which is Imbolc 102. And so the 9 herbs charm, I'm going to circle back to that. Okay. So this is a time when kind of like planting a garden and starting your seeds was sort of like traditionally done. We are a bit early to plant seeds right now, but think of Imbolc not so much as a day, but as a kickoff to a season. Right?
Yeah. It's not like plant seeds on Imbolc. It's like on Imbolc, plan the seeds that you're going to plant and when you're going to plant them. Plus, you're sort of far enough out of winter that you're able to sort of be like, all right, well, listen, we need to like turn off the Game Boy or put down the sticks, whatever you did in the old days. Put down the rocks.
I don't know that in the old days, they had the Game Boy.
I know. I was saying today, put down the Game Boy. In the old days, set down those sticks and rocks. Put those bugs back in their box or whatever the heck. We got to go start planting seeds right now because it's like real warm on Imbolc, right? Or like, oh, hey, it's still raining sideways. We have some time. Let's not pull the seeds out of the underground place or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, it's not time
like
yet.
Storage or what have you. So like, I feel like Imbolc is more of a like, I mean, fairly like the way that we celebrate Groundhog Day in America, where it's really just used as like a predictive bellwether to like figure out when you think your spring is gonna come, so you can get started on your garden planting. Like sometimes this time of year it's still like bad, and we're like, all right, well, like it's gonna be a while. And sometimes you're like, we need to go to Home Depot tomorrow to buy seeds. Like we don't even have time to get the nice ones. Give us the garbage seeds. Plant twice as many. Yeah. Because like, like it's already starting to get warm outside, and you're just like, oh, we're falling behind. Yeah. We've had years like that for sure.
Absolutely.
So I think of this less as like the day you're supposed to plant seeds, which I think is kind of the way that's often talked about. And I think it's more of like the day for you to like kind of observe the ground varmint and be like, it's definitely not time for us to get ready for seeds, or like, all right, let's get some seeds. Let's get ready to rebuild the chicken coop or whatever we got to do. Yeah. It's like time to get started.
Yeah. Yeah. And, perhaps starting seeds indoors is a good thing. There are certain seeds that you can start as early as this time of year. Yeah. And if you're not particularly interested in the hog of the ground telling you when spring is going to come, after a while you can also use
sky hog. They say when pigs fly, that's a thing.
I don't think that's the same
You
thing
can also
at
use water hog. I don't know what that is, but that sounds adorable. Yeah.
Isn't that a hippo?
I don't know. You can also do fire hog. It's dangerous.
Is that bacon?
Be careful with fire. Why not?
Sure. Oh man. Yeah. After a little while of like observing the changes in the season, like a lot of people talk about this very specific thing that happens in the summer where all of a sudden one day during the summer, you can smell that fall is coming. And I'm here to tell you that you can smell the other seasons coming as well. And once you kind of like get in like this sort of idea where you're like observing nature, the nature around you very specifically, because this is true even if you live in a city, you can still observe nature because most cities have like a park or trees or at least squirrels.
The thing that you drive by, the sounds that you hear at sunrise, the like it doesn't even have to necessarily be like wild animals. You'll start observing changes in like the way that like people are interacting with their front yards and things like that. I mean, like, life has a sort of intrinsic connection to the like rotating seasons, that sort of like rhythm of life thing. And like you'll be able to notice that. For us, because we live like just in the middle of nature, like we're very hyper aware of it because we see it in everything, in the plants that we have, in our garden, in the redwoods, in the bugs that we get. We can tell the season by the bugs that we get. We have that ground turtle doing its thing, waking up at weird times and such. The chickens start getting squirrely Dan. the dogs start like molting their winter coat and such.
Yeah. So there's a variety of ways that you yourself can look at it and kind of go like, spring is coming. Also, that is a supremely like witchy thing to do. You just kind of like walk outside in a heavy coat, holding a mug of a nice hot drink, and then take a whiff of the air and you're like, spring is coming. And then you just tell everyone spring is coming. And it is very fun to do that. Let me tell you.
That's right.
So anyway, if you're looking to plan your garden, you might want to use this particular episode as an inspiration, because we're going to be talking about the 9 herbs charm. Yeah. But to talk about that, first we have to talk about Odin and the Lacnunga.
Okay.
So Odin, there aren't a whole lot of mentions of him in ancient writings using herbs, except for a few instances like him healing a horse, or how like mistletoe figures into Ragnarok.
Yeah.
But he is associated with magic and healing and knowledge. And in ancient times, the practitioners of leechcraft, which was the most insane way to talk about somebody who practiced medicine.
Leechcraft?
Yes.
I mean, leeches are really useful tools.
Most of these people did not use leeches.
Well, they try harder, man.
A leech was basically someone who was like a witch. When they're like, they're a witch, burn them. Like that.
You mean lich? Like a lich?
Like the word leech.
Oh,
okay. Like the blood-sucking creature.
Oh, okay.
So
I was
leechcraft.
Lichcraft?
Nope.
That sounds fire. I'm here for that. We're going to do a podcast on that.
We probably will eventually, yes. But, yes, practitioners of, like, ancient herbal medicine were typically called leeches, and they practiced leechcraft.
Okay.
So, that's a fun thing that now you can tell people. And so practitioners of leechcraft also likely incorporated what we would consider today as witchcraft into their preparations of these, like, herbal remedies.
Sure.
And also combining magic with it. So in many magical practices, we see that the practitioner thanks the plant spirit, or like recites a prayer, or creates a ritual around the consumption and the harvest of the plant. Mm-hmm. That's the pretty common thing across sort of like all cultures and all time spans. So like in Wicca, which is a very modern religion created in like the 1970s. Practice. Oh yeah. Well, you can kind of consider it a religion.
I guess
too.
You could, yeah.
In the practice of Wicca, it is recommended that you thank the mother for the plant. There are a lot of different ways that Wicca can kind of like trickle down into like specific sects
and shit, yeah.
But it's very, very common to see that in Wicca, where you're thanking the mother, or you're thanking Mother Earth, or you're thanking the plant for letting you pick it. And in ancient Greece, we have evidence that some Greek and Egyptian magical users not only thanked the plant spirits, but they also thanked their deities, or literally every deity they could possibly name.
Sure.
Like there's one that I saw in the Greek magical papyri where they thanked like no less than 15 gods and goddesses for a plant.
Like I had a lot of time on his
I'm
hands.
here for it. And they even had like specific rituals for the harvesting of plants that sometimes included like cleansing yourself and picking, there's also picking plants on very auspicious days and times and seasons. So there's a lot that kind of like goes into that. So it's really not that surprising that we would see Odin associated with something like this, because understanding when and how and where to harvest a plant would be, well, knowledge. And a lot of these plants were used for healing, which is a thing that he's associated with. And many of these healing plants are also associated with magical endeavors, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So all of those things are really like, boom, right there in the Odin space. In addition to that, he also practiced cedar magic, which is very commonly associated with mind-altering substances. And guess where you got those in the olden times? From the earth.
Yeah. I mean, that's where you still get them.
That's where you still get them.
Yeah,
well,
you still get them from the earth.
Some of them come out of a lab, but...
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Robot ones.
Yeah. So, if you want more information about Odin, listen to our episode, Intro to Modern Odinism, which is episode 25. And just so you guys know, all of the episodes that we talk about will be linked in the description below if you are listening on YouTube, and in the show notes if you're listening on the podcast network.
Yeah.
Now, In the Lacnunga, the 9 herbs charm specifically says that Woden, which is another name for Odin, is banishing poison by using the 9 herbs. And the Lacnunga, that word means remedies. It's actually a compilation of manuscripts that were written sometime between the 10th and 11th centuries, we think, in Old English, Old Irish, and in Latin. Some of these appear to perhaps have been written down by members of the church, whereas some of these appear to not be written down by members of the church. It's a kind of a weird place, but basically anytime we talk about writings specifically from the Norse side of things, we're really talking about like where that line of like the synchronization of things into Christianity and the rise of Christianity in Europe. That's 2 drinking game ones for you already.
Yeah, right.
Where those kind of take place. So the first translation of the Lacnunga was actually in the 19th century by the book's first editor, Oswald Cockayne.
That's a bold name.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Oswald Cockayne.
Yeah, that's it's a place. That guy, he's gonna grow up to be a supervillain.
Yeah, yeah, he is. That is a supervillain for Batman.
Yeah,
Hundo Pasundo.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So these manuscripts, the Lacnunga, contain all kinds of things: charms, both healing as well as magical, incantations and prayers, and of course the 9 herbs charm, which actually shows up in some other writings too, but it's not particularly important to what we're talking about today. And another thing about translating ancient texts is it's difficult, and we aren't entirely sure exactly which 9 herbs they are, because some words are kind of maybe colloquial or could be a few things or indicate an herb that we don't think that they would have had back then. So modern day, at the time of recording this, the most common interpretation of this is that the 9 herbs are mugwort, plantain, not the banana, bittercress, betony, chamomile, nettle, apple, probably crabapple, chervil, and fennel.
I think chervil's a Pokemon, not an herb. So
it's definitely both. Now, we're going to talk about the plants themselves. And before we start talking about the plants, I have to tell you guys, hey, guess what? We're not doctors. And we are not here to dispense medical advice. If you choose to take any of these herbs, topically ingest them, touch them, look at them, we didn't tell you to do that. Yeah. Consult a physician before doing any of this stuff.
Yeah, look up an MSDS. Like do research on your own. This isn't the like science, this is what this thing does. This is the like what these herbs are talked about having the property of. You see what I'm saying?
It's a little bit of both.
You see what I'm saying?
So I'm going to be talking about the magical and the herbal uses of each of these herbs, which would indicate why they are there. So that later on, when you read as part of the recommended reading, the 9 herbs charm, which again, links, description, show notes, that makes a little bit more sense for you.
Sure.
So yes, we are not doctors. Do not take this as medical advice. Consult a physician. You guys know the drill. So, first up on this list is mugwort. Mugwort is one that we know for sure that it's referencing. And mugwort is actually a pretty interesting plant because as far as magical uses go, we're looking at like astral travel. This is one of those herbs that we think that the witches riding the broomstick. We think that this is one of the herbs that they were using and that the travel was not physical but astral. It's also used to cleanse. It's used to aid divination. It's used for fertility, lucid dreaming, to prevent disease, as well as prophetic dreams and protection. So we've got kind of like a really all-purpose magical herb here with mugwort. Good stuff. And for herbal uses, that's funny, I put astral projection under herbal uses.
I saw that.
That's not supposed to be there. I must have typed it in and been like, weird, I didn't type this in the right place. And then just like never deleted it. Anyway, for herbal uses, mugwort is typically used to calm. It's used as a digestive aid to help soothe sore muscles, as well as for menstrual health and sometimes even for pain relief. So you can kind of see that there is some sort of a link between these magical and herbal uses. And I know that we've talked in several podcast episodes about when things have magical uses, like, where do those correspondences come from? And one of the things that they do come from a bit is these herbalism type uses as well. So you can sort of see some of the bridges there. And just so you guys know, this is not the full list of all of the things that these can be used for, whether herbal or magical. Yeah. That full list will be on the spell page.
Yeah, Book of Shadows
page.
On the Patreon.
Yeah, on the Patreon.
Yeah, that's correct.
That is a brief list. So, mugwort, pretty dope plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody knows mugwort. It's a classic.
It's a classic. Now, next is plantain. And like I said, not the banana. So plantain is the herb in particular that we're talking about for plantain is actually considered a weed in most places. And until I knew what plantain looked like, I did not realize that I had been seeing it literally everywhere my whole life. So that's fun. But plantain's magical uses is that it brings blessings. It can help you connect with ancestors. It helps you to energize. And of course, it brings healing and protection. And for herbal issues, or herbal uses, it helps you with lung issues. It's a powerful anti-inflammatory. It can also help with skin issues and healing wounds. So plantain is another really neat one. Sometimes people use it as like a Band-Aid, just like the leaves. They kind of like mush them up and then use that as a Band-Aid. So that's pretty fun too. So after plantain, we have...
Tiny bananas?
No, they're not tiny bananas.
Or large bananas.
They're also not large bananas.
What kind of plantains you get at your local grocer.
It looks nothing like a banana.
No, I know. It's just that like leafy wheat thing.
Yeah. So next on the list is cress. And there are a lot of different varieties of cress, so I'm just kind of going with general cress here. And the magical uses for cress is for fertility. Moon magic is big here.
Do they have all four elements of cress? So they have water cress and fire cress and earth cress and sky cress?
There's at least 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only know watercress, so I'm learning a thing.
Yeah. So also cress helps to strengthen your mind and keep it active, which is sort of an interesting connotation there. Yeah. And as far as herbal uses, it aids digestion. It's a diuretic, a general tonic, and it also helps to reverse anemia, ladies. It's also delicious.
Watercress?
Yeah.
Those are those kind of snappy doodads inside of the food?
Nope, not at all. Watercress is a green that you typically eat in a soup or a salad.
Oh, I'm thinking of water chestnut.
Yeah, you're always every time.
Every time I get that one wrong.
Every time.
It's because I violently hate water chestnuts with a passion that consumes my soul.
Really?
Yeah, just awful. Awful abomination of a food.
I mean, like, I don't want to eat them plain.
Just absolute garbage. Throw it in the trash can.
If they're in a soup or a stir fry, you better believe I'm going to eat
care. Put it in a bowl, throw it at the chickens. Done. No, not even eating them.
They're kind of like jicama.
No, jicama's way better.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, no. I cannot stand water chestnuts. Watercress, weird leaves. I'm probably here for them.
Yeah.
I love leaves, as long as they're cooked less.
Yeah, I know.
I don't want too much cooked vegetables. Yeah, it's a thing. Somebody else out there who is about this, let me know, comment or whatever the heck. I just prefer raw vegetables. I just genuinely don't like cooked vegetables. Any of the vegetables. Everything. People are like real hype on cooked broccoli. That is ferociously insane to me. I will just take a broccoli right off the plant and eat it. I love broccoli. Don't cook it. Don't even put a little bit of warm on it. Get that shit cool. Pick it in the morning. Right? I can't stand cooked vegetables. It's like a thing for me. I don't know what it is. Same with like leaves. I don't want cooked ass leaves. I want just raw leaves. Yeah, it's just a thing. I don't know what it is. I think it's probably because as a kid, like, everywhere we wandered, you could just, like, pick up plant off the, like, off the bush and, like, chew on it and stuff. So I'm just, like, used to just, like, fresh vegetables, pick an apple off a tree and eat it kind of a thing. So, yeah, whatever. I don't know. I'm weird, probably.
You're definitely weird, but I don't know
that
that
weird.
is
so normal right now. What are you
I don't
talking
know that that's
about?
the thing that makes you weird. But it's definitely one of them.
It's on the list.
So next up is betony.
Like the Robert.
No. Isn't the name Paul anyway? It's Paul Bettany.
It is Paul Bettany.
Yeah, we were just talking about it yesterday.
Yeah,
we were
just
talking about
it was all an elaborate ruse, guys.
Yeah. So there are two main types of betony. One is a pedicularis genus, and I don't recall off the top of my head which one there is. In America, wood betony grows like really commonly, pretty much throughout the whole U.S., but there's sort of a divide at the Rocky Mountains, and on one side you have one type of betony, and on the other side you have the other type of betony. So
I think there's a lot of plants that are like that.
Yeah. So betony is a really interesting plant. Out here in California, we have one that's called warrior's flame, or torch, or something along those lines. It's Pedicularis candidnensis, and it grows in like oak groves and forests, and it's actually like semi-parasitic, where it like taps into the host plant's roots and like drinks some of the nutrition, not to like kill the host plant, but to live in like symbiosis with it. And so if you plant it next to something, it will sort of take on, but slightly, part of the like herbal medicine of that main plant, which is really interesting. So betony has a ton of interesting uses, and particularly the pedicularis does too. The wood betony, which grows on the other side of the Rocky Mountains, still cool stuff, but but the herbalism uses are ever so slightly different, and in pretty like simple ways. So magical uses of betony seem to be the same across the whole side of things.
Yeah, both spectrums.
So magical uses of betony is to exorcise and ward off evil spirits. It's for grounding and harmony, protection and purification and uncrossing, as well as healing. Now, herbal uses is to calm. It helps to cure headaches. It can be used as a digestive aid, as well as relieving fever and tight muscles. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So next up on our list is chamomile.
Yeah,
which you can basically get everywhere.
Yeah.
And chamomile is used magically for healing, to increase spell success. So I end up putting chamomile in almost every one of my spell jars and spells, because who doesn't want to increase the success of your spell?
Yeah, it's just like +2 to success. Put a little sprinkle a little chamomile on it.
Yeah. Boom.
Plus 2 to magical success.
Yeah, plus it smells nice. Yeah. Tastes great. It's also used for love and luck and meditation and sleep, because it is calming and reducing stress. Herbally, you can use it for cramps, for liver issues, menstrual issues, and for skin irritation. It's actually really great for calming down like allergic reactions on your skin, as well as eczema. Yeah. Chamomile, delicious with a slice of apple and some hot water.
Yeah.
Chamomile tea with apple. Very nice.
It's classy. It's fancy. Float like a thinly sliced wedge of apple. You just gotta slice it real thin so it's nice.
Absolutely, yeah.
Put it in there in your cup. If you're feeling particularly randy, cut a bunch of very thin slices like that. They have to be very, very thin to do this. But wrap them around themselves so it's like a little rose of apple slices in the bottom of your teacup.
I too have seen this TikTok.
And then you just put a little bit of water, sprinkle a little bit of on there.
Yeah.
Bing, bang, boom. Got yourself. Well, they use caramel in the TikTok video.
Oh, is it caramel? I thought it was just Well, I thought it was hot water.
They use caramel to like glue the flour down.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's like a caramel apple.
I see. Well,
thing.
that sounds even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Caramel apple. Sign
Little caramel apple, a little hot water, splash of like rum or something like that. Make a little caramel apple.
Oof.
Yeah, maybe like a little brandy or something.
Get it
fancy.
You're speaking my language right
get
now.
Get fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Practice knife skills in the kitchen. It is going to make everything you do way easier, and you're going to make way more awesome stuff with it.
And you're going to hurt yourself less.
Oh my God, so much less. Practice makes perfect, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I learned how to flip eggs by flipping a piece of toast in a cast iron skillet. So, yeah. Now pretty good at flipping eggs. Just got to practice.
I've literally never seen you flip an egg.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, well. We have scrambled eggs here most of the time anyway.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we do. You do the like Japanese scrambled egg thing.
Yeah, we're just currently in a scrambled egg phase.
Only eggs I've ever ate. No other eggs exist.
That's not
all lies.
True at all.
Cannot believe any of them.
It's not true literally at all. We eat so many eggs. So
That's
many
true.
ways.
We do eat eggs in every possible egg way. Do you have a new way to eat eggs? Comment below. Let us know.
Yeah. Anyway, next plant up is nettle. Yes, stinging nettle.
Yeah. Regular nettle, stinging nettle.
Yeah. Yeah. Be careful with nettle, folks. It definitely can sting you.
Yeah. And like generally irritate and such.
Yeah, yeah. So there are certain ways that you can harvest it if you're looking to harvest it yourself. I definitely recommend that you look those up. And if you are unsure about that or don't feel quite comfortable, definitely just purchase it already dealt with.
Yeah, taken care of.
It's not difficult, but it's you gotta be willing to do the work. So for nettle, magical uses are really as an antidote to just about anything. It will help to repel it. Hello, it's covered with like poisony kind of stickers.
Like stingy stickers.
Yeah, it's also used for cleansing and dispelling and protection and willpower. As far as herbal uses, you can use nettle as a diuretic. It's great for hair and skin. It helps to increase your circulation and is another great herb dealing with anemia, ladies. Not that guys can't have anemia, but looking at you girls, you know what I'm talking about. Or maybe you don't.
I do not know what they're talking about.
Oh.
No, I totally do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Of course, how could I not understand that? That would be insane.
Well, I don't know. I don't know you. I've never met you.
Yeah. Who are you? Where am I? What's going on right now?
Person?
What's happening?
Why are they in my house?
Why are we recording?
What beer are they drinking? What even
beer.
is this?
It's just beer. It's beer flavored beer. It's fantastic.
Oh, it's nice. So next up is apple.
Yep.
Now, we think that they really mean crab apple here because that is the variety of apple that you would have had at that time.
Only golden delicious side.
But I'm here to tell you, you know what? Just use whatever apples you like. You don't necessarily have to go and locate crab apples.
Although, if you do have crab apples, you don't just have to like let them fall in the ground and turn to mush and then rake them up at the end of the season. Like there's a ton of stuff you can do with crab apples.
Totally.
I used to make applesauce out of crab apples.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. Make mad applesauce out of crab apples, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like apple pies and shit, you just can't like eat it as an apple. Although I've definitely ate a fair share of crab apples.
I have as well. Yeah. Both with and without regrets. So there's that. So apples have a ton of different magical meanings. They're a very magical thing.
I'm sorry. We're going to interrupt this broadcast right now for me to read to you without any information because she does the research and stuff. I'm just here for just random insertions. But it says magical uses apples, right? Next tab in magical uses. First thing, death. It's just... Yeah, I mean, I guess slingshot, strong arm, a t-shirt cannon, an apple just means death with those things, right? You just wing it hard enough, fire it out of a shirt cannon, boom. Yeah, dangerous thing, apples, magical use,
it's
danger.
It's just the first thing on the list. They're alphabetically arranged.
Or does she mean that it staves off death? Because they say that an apple a day keeps the doctor away, and if a doctor can't get to you, then you can never know you're sick. So there you go. Fucking immortal, right? Is that what that saying means? That if I eat apples, I achieve immortality?
Well,
a lot of gods ate apples for immortality, so yeah.
Apples
eat an apple. Fuck
apples
that.
are crazy healthy for you.
Eat an apple. Fuck that.
So yes, apples are in fact associated with death. Both with
the
avoiding
of
hits.
death. Right? Remember we learned about gravity because that scientist got brained.
Well, apples are kind of considered like an underworld fruit. Like most of the time when people think about like the fruit of the underworld, they think about pomegranates because of Persephone, and that's definitely
but you cut
not
an
wrong,
apple in half,
but
skeleton face.
Well, a pentagram for certain.
And the pentagram thing, well, it depends on the direction you're cutting the apple in half.
I have never cut an apple in half and seen a skeleton face.
Well, it's because, you cut an apple, like, so you can see the, like, pods sideways.
You mean the seeds?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, skeleton face. It's got skeleton-ass eyes. Plus, you can carve apples into, like, heads. You can, like, carve apple
I have definitely done
shit.
apple shrunken heads.
Yeah,
Very
man.
fun stuff.
Yeah.
Very
you smoke
fun
weed
stuff.
out of that, man.
Only if it's legal where you live.
Only if it's legal where you live. Yeah.
And if you're not allergic
but
to
if it is, apple pipe.
Yeah. So apples are also
Hollywood
associated
comedy.
with fertility.
Sure, yeah. Because of the seeds.
Well, I mean, they're everywhere.
Yeah, apples are kind of fucking
Apples
everywhere.
are everywhere. Yeah.
We have one guy to blame for that, Johnny. Fucking apples, son of a bitch.
Well, that's in America. They're everywhere, like kind of all over the place. Not literally all over the world.
They were also
but,
a symbol
like,
of like freedom and liberty for a long time because if you grew apples everywhere, which is very hype, you can turn apples into apple brandy, and that shit is good, man.
Yeah.
You can get hooched up on some apple juice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
apples are also associated with friendship as well as immortality and love.
Yep.
Herbally, apples are fantastic for blood purification. In fact, I read something recently that was saying like if you're having a particularly PMSy time, make sure to eat an apple a day to cleanse the ghosts in your blood, basically.
Apples,
and
they scare the ghosts out of the blood because they render you more immortal. That makes sense.
That's basically it.
Perfectly reasonable.
And I definitely have noticed a difference with that. That's just me.
Blood ghost levels all-time low.
Well, I don't know about all-time low, but definitely on the low side. Apples are also great for digestive issues as well as fever and inflammation.
Yep. Get the ghost out of your muscles, get the ghost out of your stomach, get the ghost out of your brain.
Exercise those ghosts out of your blood with the power of death and vitality.
Ghost death.
Ghost death, yeah. All right, next up is chervil. This is one of the like hotly contested ones. So this herb may have not been part of the original 9 herbs charm, but we think it was, and perhaps they were trading for it at the time that the herb charm was being used. So chervil is an herb that's fairly common in French cooking, and it has kind of like a slight anise flavor to it. So it's kind of like it's kind of like somewhere between anise and parsley. And it does not dry very well, so you kind of have to just like grow it somewhere. Its magical uses are for clarity, connecting to your higher self, and speaking to spirits, as well as immortality. So I mean that's big.
Not as good as apples, but
not as hilarious as apples.
Yeah.
You can also use it as a blood tonic, a general tonic, also a digestive aid, and it helps to heal eye issues too. Yeah. And then last on the list is fennel, which grows rampantly wild where we live.
Yes.
It is everywhere.
That's very true.
Fennel also is what Dionysus's staff is made of, which we talk about in the Dionysus deep dive episode.
Yep.
I don't remember what episode that is off the top of my head because I didn't plan on saying that.
Yeah, that's fine. 5,327.
42. So fennel is associated with fertility and fortitude, as well as strength, vitality, and healing. Herbally, fennel is kind of like a wonder thing. It aids your liver. It's anti-nausea. It can be used as a digestive aid, and it can also help with stomach cramps.
Nice.
So
it's delicious also.
Yeah. So in looking at all of these 9 herbs, what the 9 herbs charm
a weird
is,
fried chicken with it, but I mean, if Colonel Sanders wants to do it, Colonel Sanders can do it.
Would be a weird fried chicken. But you know what I think it would be better at? Because I noticed when I was looking at all of these, was that all of these have that they are used as a digestive aid in some way. And I really want to make a bitters out of them. So that's our new project.
Yeah, 9 herb bitters would be fire.
9 herb bitters. Yeah. And I have more or less sourced all of where I want these plants to come from. So there's our seed planning for me.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these we don't necessarily need to grow, and we already have like a large amount of, but some of these we will have to grow.
It's a real nightmare to grow apples.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, where we currently live, growing an apple, that's not going to happen. Yeah.
In 3 years, you're going to get one apple. It's going to be the size of a marble or something.
Yeah, and it'll take like the whole 3 years to germinate. So, in the 9 herbs charm, what happens is we're basically the person who's writing this is basically invoking the herb and the powers of the herb and talking about how great the herb is, particularly at getting rid of poison. And then
basically what we just did.
Yeah. And then they turn it into a salve or a balm to use for poison. Yeah. But in looking at some of these magical and herbal uses that we just talked about, like you can really see how something like that would be a really cool, like magical and even herbal remedy for kind of everything. Like we basically, out of those 9 herbs, we basically hit every beat that you would think of.
Yeah, totally.
And of course, these are not full lists, especially of the herbal uses, because don't even get me started on fennel. We could do 4 podcast episodes on fennel. And I am not even a certified herbalist. I only know what I know through research and dabbling in the art of herbalism. So, like, there's a ton of stuff that you can do with it.
Oh, totally.
And in addition to that, it's really neat to kind of like take a look back in time to see how people used herbs, both magically as well as from like a medicine kind of a standpoint, and to see how the gods sort of figure into it. It's a really neat look back in that time. And the reason why I picked this, of course, for Imbolc is in case any of you are interested in practicing a bit more magic. Perhaps you are interested in Odin and want to plant your garden soon. Maybe some of these herbs will be right up your alley. Again, we're not doctors. Consult a physician. Do all the stuff. But those are the herbs from the 9 herbs charm. And the suggested reading for you for these 103s, which is part of the sort of series.
Yeah, the 103s are coming with reading suggestions. Guess what? You have homework now. Ha ha.
Yeah, I bet you didn't know you were signing up for homework.
Adult homework, everybody.
I mean, we could read you the 9 herbs charm, but like honestly, it's super long, and I definitely don't want to do that right now. Yeah. But also, I found a website where not only do you get to read the 9 herbs charm, they have it in the language that it was originally written in, which is sort of like old German, old English, and it also has like really cool botanical pictures of each herb as you're going through it, and that website is in the show notes and in the description, depending on where you're listening to this. And it's to some website called Spitalfields Life. I don't know who they are. I mean, I looked at the website. I understand who they are, but I did not pick them because of any affiliation with them. This person that wrote this particular article that it has this information just did a particularly wonderful job with it. So definitely check that out with the link in the show notes.
Yeah. It's going to be all linked up in there. So what's up next?
So next we have the Horn and Cauldron pub chat. We're going to get back on that train.
Yep.
Now that we are a bit caught up. And our next deep dive, I promise, Brisk Craft, will be on Pontus. That got pushed back just a little bit because of the no internet for January thing.
Yeah. Free from internet in January. Internet free January.
Yeah, but we will be talking about a primordial Greek sea god in the next full-length episode that we do.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Definitely. So, yeah. I forget what I was going to say entirely. It's totally fine. Whatever. So, we'd like to thank our patrons, since I can't remember the thing that I was going to say about bloody
Don't worry,
Pontus and
you'll
the pub
remember
chat.
as soon as we're done.
I know, that's fine. We're going to turn this camera off and I'll know. So thanks to our patrons, Alan, Miranda, Helena, and Alexa. You guys are awesome. You keep us constantly improving, and we are slowly making moves in that direction. Yep. So thank you very much.
We got lots of big plans for this year.
Yeah,
we're very
this year's
excited
going to be
about.
Very different than last year, and we're hoping to continue to increase kind of like the amount of stuff that we're doing with regard to that. So speaking of our patrons, you'll get the Book of Shadows pages, and we're moving along with those, as well as this weekend, so in a couple of days from when we're live recording this, we will be doing our Imbolc ritual, and so you'll kind of join us. We've started doing this for this year, where you can join us for our like rituals, and as we decorate our altars, and kind of like go through that process with us.
We usually do some sort of fun project associated with whatever it is that the Sabbat is.
Yeah.
Imbolc is associated with seeds and candles, basically, and we have a bunch of candles that we need to roll. So you get to watch us make some candles and probably start planting the first of our seeds.
If you have the stuff or can get the stuff, you'll be able to make candles along with us. I do like a lot of candle making, so I have like a whole little setup for it. Just
right
because
now
we go through a ton of candles.
Right now we're planning on using sheets of beeswax. Rolled
beeswax
candles.
We're gonna do rolled candles, but I'll probably while we're doing that get into how I recycle candles and things like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So we'll go into that just because this is the time for candle making. So we'll dive into all of that, and then join us for planting seeds and doing some ritual with us and all that.
And whatever our Imbolc feast is.
Yeah, whatever our Imbolc feast is. So all of that kind of stuff will be up on Patreon soon from when we record this. Yeah. But so thank you guys, and stay awesome. Yeah, definitely. So with that being said, I think that's it. Yeah. We don't have correspondences this time,
Well,
guys.
I just read a whole list of things.
Yeah, I mean, I guess all correspondences this time.
Mostly correspondences.
Yeah. So this is going to be so this one's a little bit different, but so I guess we just go right to the exit. This has been fun. I've learned a lot of plant stuff, right? So
that's normally my place, is all the plant stuff.
Yeah, plant stuff. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like this video, comment below, share, subscribe, ring the bell, and do all the other strange rituals that YouTubers ask you to do to keep us tethered to this plane of existence. That's the way that I think about it in my mind, at least. And if you're listening to us on your podcast network of choice, leave us a review. Go leave us a review. Tell us how we said a word wrong. That's always one of my favorites.
Oh, that's always our favorites, yes.
And they're like, this is how you say it. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know that. Thank you.
Yeah, you would be surprised.
I don't know
how
if you
hard it is
are trying to do that to
know
me
how to pronounce words.
But yeah, I don't know how to do words and such. Yeah, I'm just making it up as I go. It's fine.
Don't even talk to me about Lunasa.
Yeah. Sometimes I say words wrong on purpose, though.
A lot of times.
You know how much I love Lafnasad.
Yeah.
But either way, I've been John Norgrove. This has been Julie Norgrove. This has been the Horn
and Cauldron
podcast. Thank you for joining us, and stay magical, folks.
Yeah, and don't forget, breathe in self-confidence and breathe out self-doubt.